Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. We are Group 5 and we'll be presenting Chapter 6, Rizal's Second Travel Abroad and the Last Homecoming. Here are the contents that are included in our reporting.
Going back sa last lesson, nalaman natin sa last part na in-advise ni Governor General Terrero si Rizal na umalis sa Pilipinas for his own safety since na-threatened siya because of his novels. In this chapter, we'll be venturing into Rizal's second travel abroad and the last homecoming wherein nag-focus si Rizal sa pagpursue ng writings niya while traveling to parts of Hong Kong, Japan, and London while aiming to fight for reforms na kailangan ng Philippines at that time. So before tayo mag-start, papaw muna tayo sa quote by Rizal about travel. Sinabi niya rito na travel is a caprice in childhood, a passion in youth, a necessity in manhood, and an elegy in old age. Nade-depict dito yung description ni Rizal sa travel as different stages of life progresses. To proceed, Rizal's first country in his second travel is Hong Kong. On February 3, 1898, Rizal left the Philippines unwillingly. Dito, sobrang down si Rizal sa pag-alis since gusto niyang pakasalan si Leonor na fiancé niya at that time. Then, his clinic din was attracting patients. Then, yung mga orphans na tinuturuan niya ay inaalala niya rin. And one of his siblings, si Sister Olympia, ay namatay. He boarded the Zafiro vessel papunta sa Hong Kong as you can see on the right side of the presentation na first ay nagboard sa Xiamen, China. Binalak niya bumaba dun sa China pero the city had rainy weather at sinabi na madumi raw, which could probably worsen his health na lalong alala nga yung sama ng pakaramdam niya if nagland siya doon. While in Hong Kong, nagstay si Jose Rizal sa Victoria Hotel. There, he was warmly welcomed by Filipino residents. Unang-una dito si Jose Maria Basa na nakikita natin ngayon sa presentation. Jose Maria Basa is a merchant from Binondo who was exiled in Hong Kong cause nag-participate siya sa 1872 Cavite Mutiny. He was considered as an ally dahil yung Cavite Mutiny ay composed of Filipino laborers na nag-alyansa sa mga Spanish authorities. Tumulong din siya ismuggle yung La Solidaridad, some of the copies ng book na Rizal, anti-friar pamphlets at iba't ibang literatures against the Spanish authorities, since the only way to disseminate the copies ay through illegitimate distribution. Then, andito rin si Balbino Mauricio and Manuel Iriarte at si Jose Sainz de Veranda na former secretary ni Governor Terrero, which is sinuspect na nag-spy daw kay Rizal habang siya ay nasa Hong Kong. Next country is Japan. He left Hong Kong noong February 18 and arrived at Yokohama, Japan. Nagstay siya sa Tokyo Hotel for a while pero naimbitahan siya ni Juan Perez Caballero, secretary ng Spanish Legation para tumira with them. Tinanggap niya yung invitation. Pero kung tatanungin niyo, bakit? Kaya nga siya umalis ng bansa dahil mainit sa mata ng Spaniards yung sinulat niya . Pero, tinanggap niya to since mababawasan yung gastos niya sa ibang bansa by staying at delegation at tsaka naisip niya wala naman dapat itago sa mga Spanish authorities. While in Japan, na-mesmerize siya sa beauty ng country na ito. Malinis, mapayapa, at breathtaking ang mga sceneries. He learned the customs and traditions of Japan na sumulat pa siya kay Professor Blumentritt. Have your friend, Rizal, wonder of the Japanese, since he has a Japanese appearance and yet does not understand Japanese. Nahihiya siya na he cannot speak their language. Kinomplement rin niya yung courtesy, honesty, and discipline ng mga Japanese people. He even had a fling with Seiko Usui na naging dahilan niya na pagdadalawang isip na umalis pa sa Japan. There, he stayed for 45 days, then dumiretso na siya sa USA.
So, after naman ng cultural detour niya sa Japan, nag-proceed naman si Rizal sa kanyang next destination, which is sa San Francisco. So, nag-arrive siya doon noong April 28, 1988, and unfortunately, hindi na-expect ni Rizal na mag-arrive siya sa country na merong discrimination or they are the most anti-Asian nung period ng American history. And bago pa makapasok si Rizal sa San Francisco, kinwarantin muna siya for a week kasi daw may rumor na may cholera epidemic that time. And na-quarantine sila doon sa Angel Island. And yun nga, yung mga American health authorities, hindi sila nagpapasok ng mga passengers na kasama ni Rizal that time kasi nga daw may rumored na cholera epidemic. Which alam naman ni Rizal na wala naman talagang cholera epidemic. And nag-protest din sila together ng mga kasama niya doon kasama niya doon sa travel niya sa naging injustifiable actions ng American authorities. So, following that day, nagsulat din si Rizal ng letter sa kanyang pamilya doon sa Philippines. And sinabi niya doon na ang mga Americans daw ay may discrimination nga sa mga Asians or hindi nila gusto yung Chinese and yung mga Asians. And after yung nag-experience na nun, winarn ni Rizal yung mga Filipinos na hindi naging hospitalable yung Amerika sa mga Asians. And sinabi niya doon, quote and quote, "I'll not advise anyone to make this trip to America. For here they're crazy about quarantine. They have severe customs inspection imposing duties on anything." So yun, after ng 7 days quarantine niya, na nakapunta na rin si Rizal sa San Francisco and nagstay siya sa isang prestigious and expensive palace hotel. And a few days later naman, nag-ferry si Rizal papuntang inland port of Stockton, where he would board a train for Sacramento and then went on Reno, Salt Lake City, Chicago, and New York City. So during nung travel niya na yun sa Amerika, na-realize niya na mayroong enormous wealth, power, and imperialistic ambitions yung Amerika. And during din nung time na yun, nakapagsulat siya ng essay which is in the Philippine Century, where he predicted that American expansionism would extend across the Pacific to as far away as the Philippines. If the Spanish colonial government did not institute reforms, the Philippines would be invaded by Americans. So yun, nagkaroon na din si Rizal ng bad impression sa Amerika kasi nga, meron silang racial equality. And nagtanong din si Jose Alejandro kung ano yung naging impression ni Rizal sa Amerika. And sinabi niya doon na may freedom naman yung Amerika, but only for the white. So basically, sinasabi niya dito na merong existed racial prejudice na may inconsistent principles of democracy and freedom. Basically, ang nangyari is naging merong discrimination yung mga Americans sa mga Asians or Chinese. And after naman nun, dumako naman tayo sa kanyang scholarly undertakings in London. So after naman ng visit niya sa US, ay tumira naman si Rizal sa London from May 1888 to March 1889. And napili niya tong lugar na to for 3 different reasons. So first is to improve niya yung knowledge niya sa English language, and also to study and annotate more the successes de las Islas Filipinas, which he heard na may available copy daw sa British Museum. And also, lastly, is yung London daw is safe sa paglaban sa mga Spanish tyranny. And doon sa London, nag-engage din siya sa Filipiniana Studies, and na-complete niya yung pag-annotate kay Morgan's book, and nagsulat siya ng maraming articles for La Solidaridad sa defense sa mga tao against sa Spanish critics. And also, nag-pen din siya ng famous letter to the young woman of Malolos, and carried on his voluminous correspondence with Blumentritt and relatives, and nagkaroon din siya ng romance with Gertrude Beckett. So, yung naging buhay naman niya sa London is noong May 25, 1888, nagstay siya sa London. And nagstay siya dun sa guest house ni Dr. Antonio Maria Regidor, which is an exile of 1872 and practicing lawyer in London. So, ayun, after that, si Dr. Reinhold Rotz naman, isa siyang librarian sa Ministry of Foreign Affairs and an authority on Malayan Colleges and Customs. So, si Dr. Reinhold Rotz ay na-impress kay Rizal sa kanyang ability and character, and nirecommend din niya sa mga authorities ng British Museum si Rizal. And tinatawag si Rizal na a pearl of a man or una feria de hombre. So, during ng stay na doon sa London ay nakareceive si Rizal ng both good and bad news. So, doon naman sa bad news ay puro mga injustices na nakumit ng Spanish authorities sa Filipino as well as on his family. So first is yung persecution of Filipino patriots who signed the Anti-Fire Petition of 1888. So yung Anti-Fire Petition is to expel all the people who belongs to a religious order or a group within the Catholic Church in the Philippines. So etong petition na to is to expel lahat ng mga tao na lahat ng kasali sa mga religious order o sa mga Catholic Church. Katulad na lang yung nangyari sa Compulsa. And next naman is yung persecution of Calamba tenants including his family who petitioned for agrarian reform. So ito naman is yung mga people is nag-refuse sila to pay the rent because of financial hardship, and also nag-worsen din yung other factors ng pag-harvest nila, and yung crops nila ay nasira sa mga weather and pestilence. Next naman is yung furious attacks in Rizal by Senator Salamanca and Vida in the Spanish Cortes. So ito naman, sa Spanish newspaper naman siya na inatake. So, next naman is yung brother-in-law ni Rizal, si Manuel Hidalgo, is na-exiled by Governor General Waylett and na-execute siya without the process of the law. And lastly is si Laureano Viado, yung kaibigan niya, is na-arresto and nakulong siya because meron silang nakuha na copy ng no limitang here doon sa house niya. And on the other hand naman, ang good news na kanyang natanggap is si Reverend Vicente Garcia, a canon of Manila Cathedral, ay dinapensahan yung mga tao against the attack of the friars. And narinig niya to kay Mariano Ponce. And yung naging greatest achievement niya naman nang nasa London siya is yung pag-complete niya ng annotation of Morgan's book, which is yung Successos de las Islas Filipinas, which means the historical events of the Philippine Islands, which was published in Mexico 1609. And etong mga lahat ng sinabi ko is ma-further explain pa siya ng ating next report, which is si Phil.
So, ang next naman natin is yung visit to the Paris Exposition ni Rizal. So here, sabi, Rizal arrived in Paris on March 19, 1889. Ayan. So yung Paris Exposition kasi, it was meant to showcase the wonders from various countries, may they be in the form of products, structures, or performers. And also, nung time na to, it was a defining point in France history kasi nga, it featured the newly completed Eiffel Tower na ginawa ni Alexander Eiffel. So, si Rizal, he was very curious about different cultures. So, etong exposition na to, it drawn him to go there. Ayun. So, isa sa mga attraction dito is yung Galleries des Machines or Palace of Machines na dinesign ni architect Ferdinand III at saka ni engineer Victor Contamin. So, ayan, makikita natin dito, ito yung Galleries des Machines. So, ito, yung pinaka-purpose niya was to showcase the latest advancement in engineering, machinery, and technology at that time. So, inside the Galleries des Machines, the visitors, they could witness the wide array of industrial machinery, like for example, locomotives, steam engines, textile machines, and other inventions. So, ang purpose din nito is to highlight France's industrial prowess and technological innovation, as well as to showcase the progress of industry on a global scale. Ayun. So, next naman is yung, ayan, one of the features of the exposition was the international competition. Ito, about sa painting. So, dinalahan to ni Felix R. Hidalgo na nakakuha naman siya ng second prize. And si Juan Luna naman, at saka si Felix Pardateta Vera naman, they won third prize. And unfortunately, si Rizal, yung entry niya, hindi nakakuha ng prize sa competition na to. Kasi sabi, yung piece niya raw, hindi pa parang pasok for international prize or winning. Ayun. So, pero despite this, Rizal, participation pa lang niya, it was actually notable na kasi it showcases multifaceted talents beyond his literacy and political endeavors. And next naman, makikita natin yung mga club tsaka organization na na-form during this time. So, ayan, next would be the Kidlat Club. So, yung Kidlat Club naman, na-form to nung dumating si Rizal. So, in-organize niya yung mga compatriots niya, and then, tinawag nila itong Kidlat Club. So, Kidlat, in English, it's lightning. And sabi kasi, for some reasons daw, itong club na to, mag-disappear din siya after the exposition. So, parang lightning lang, ganun. So, yung pinaka-aim niya was to bring together the young Filipinos in the French capital so that they could enjoy the sojourn in Paris. Ayun. And ayan yung mga members dito, si Antonio N. Juan Luna, Gregorio Aguilera, Fernando Canon, Loro de Mayuga, Julio Lorente, Guillermo Puato, at saka si Baldomero Rojas. And next would be the Indios Bravos. Ito naman, it replaced the Kidlat Club. Ayan. So, yung member nito, they pledged to excel in intellectual and physical prowess. So, nag-practice sila ng sword and pistol. And si Rizal, tinuruan niya yung mga members ng Indios Bravos na mag-judo, which is natutunan niya to nung pumunta siya ng Japan. So, yung term ng Indios, it refers to indigenous Filipino people, while yung Bravos naman translate to brave or fierce in Spanish. And then, next would be the RDLM Society. So, yung RDLM society naman is Redención de los Malayos. So, yung aim nito ng secret society na to was the propagation or the diffusion in the Philippines of all useful knowledge, be it scientific, artistic, literacy, and etc. Ayan. So, isa pang aim nito was to uplift and redeem the indigenous people of the Malahi race, which include us, Filipino. So, kasi piniperceive tayo as backwardness, ignorance, and barbarism. So, yung concept na to, it was closely tied to the paternalistic ideology of colonialism. So, gusto niyang i-alter yon, yung perception na yon. Next pang attraction ng Paris Exposition was yung Village Negre. Ayan, or Negro Village. So, this one, it had around 400 indigenous people from various French colonies, opening on May 5, 1889, and the Village Negre was one of the fair's most popular exhibition, drawing over 28 million spectators in the almost 6 months it was open. Why? Kasi, unique daw itong exhibition na to. Kasi it is an ethnological exhibit that showcased more than just a small group of individuals. Pero yung totoo, it was a human zoo or ethnographic exhibit na fini-feature yung mga people from the African continent, particularly yung mga sub-Saharan Africa. So itong mga individual na to, they are presented in a demeaning or dehumanizing manner. So portrayed as exotic or primitive others for the entertainment lang ng European spectators. So ang inclusion na nga nito ng exhibit nito, it was actually a reflection of racist and colonial attributes which is prevalent during the 19th century. So, yung mga non-European cultures were often exhibited as curiosities or object of fascination. So, itong exhibits na to, it perpetuated harmful stereotypes and contributed to the marginalization and exploitation of indigenous and non-European people. Ayun. Next, we'll go to Back in London. Ayan, so back in London. So actually when he left Paris, Rizal was somewhat disappointed kasi dun sa Paris Exposition, hindi masyado na-feature yung mga Filipino doon. Kumbaga kung merong event, maraming booth, yung Filipino, wala silang sariling booth nila, gano'n. So parang na-disappoint siya. So, ayan, Rizal went back to London. He continued working on his successor's annotations. So, ayun nga, yung annotation niya, it aimed to critique and provide additional insight dun sa work ni Morga, particularly concerning the pre-colonial history ng Philippines, indigenous cultures, at saka na rin yung impact ng Spanish colonization. So, yung annotation niya, it was part of his larger efforts to challenge the prevailing narratives of Spanish superiority and to promote a deeper understanding of Philippine history and identity. Ayun. So, habang nasa London si Rizal, ginamit niya yung mga access niya or resources niya, which is pagpunta sa library, para naman ma-broader yung intellectual pursuits niya. Ayun. And Rizal's annotations on Morga's work would later be published as Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas. Ayan. So Ilocano writer Isabelo de los Reyes lent his criticisms. So dito kasi si De Los Reyes, he was known for his advocacy for social reforms and his contributions to Philippine literature and journalism. So he acknowledged the importance of Rizal's work in challenging colonial narratives, but he also offered constructive criticisms and alternative perspectives. While si Juan Luna naman, sabi niya, exaggerated by Rizal's excessive patriotism daw. Kasi his views on Rizal's annotations suggesting that Rizal's patriotism might have influenced the tone and content of his critics. So, yung comment niya, it reflects a common debate surrounding Rizal's writings and activism wherein some viewed him as overly patriotic or nationalistic, while yung iba naman pinrin siya as hero and champion of the Philippine independence. So, ayun. And next, around this time, Rizal received a letter from his Filipino friends in Spain offering him an editorship to a new publication. Well, dito naman, nagsulat sa kanya si Antonio Luna, if I'm not mistaken, na pinapapunta siya na kailangan daw siya doon to offer the editorship nga, ayun. Pero he declined kasi marami na siyang ginagawa at that time. So, ang nangyari, yung editorship, it was given to Graciano Lopez Haina and later on to Marcelo Del Pilar. So, ayun, ito yung publication na to was named La Solidaridad, a newspaper founded by Filipino liberals in Spain noong 1889. So, yung newspaper, it served as a platform for advocating for reforms in the Philippines and raising awareness about the social, political, and economic issues facing the Filipino people under Spanish colonial rule. Ayun. So, yung Dimas Alang and Laong Laan, yun yung naging pen name ni Rizal dito sa editorship nito. So, ayun, itong La Solidaridad na newspaper, madidiscuss pa siya ng elaborate or mas broaden ng next reporter, which is si Miss Angeline Cruz.
Writing for La Solidaridad and publishing LFP. So ito po, makikita niyo yung example ng La Solidaridad na newspaper. Ito yung isang newspaper na nakasulat sa wikang Espanyol at yung La Solidaridad ay isa ring samahan ng mga ilustradong Pilipino sa Espanya. So yung La Solidaridad, isa rin itong kilusang propaganda na yung pangunahing tinig nila is magkaroon ng reforma sa Pilipinas noong panahon ng kolonyalismo ng Espanya. May goal din sila na ipaalam sa gobyerno ng Espanya yung mga kalupitan na naranasan ng mga Pilipino at yung pagmamaltrato or yung mga bad experiences ng mga Pilipino sa mga praile. So, yung unang issue po ng La Solidaridad ay pinablish noong February 15, 1889 sa ilalim ng pamamatnugot or editorship ni Graciano Lopez Haina. And nalipat ito kay Marcelo H. Del Pilar sa pangalawang issue noong November 15, 1889. And ang La Solidaridad ay nagtagal hanggang November 15, 1895. Articles that Rizal had written for the Soli. So, yung una is yung La Verdad para Todos or The Truth for All or sa Tagalog is Katotohanan para sa Lahat. Napublish ito noong May 31, 1889 and sinulat ito ni Rizal in defense of the Filipinos against the Friars. Sinulat niya to para ipagtanggol yung mga Pilipino sa mga pang-iinsulto ng mga Friars sa mga Pilipino. Next is Verdades Nuevas or New Truths. It is a reply to the Spanish journalist na si Vicente Velo E. Sanchez praised that the Spanish friars are models of holiness likened to saints. So, napublish itong Verdades Nuevas no July 31, 1889. Well, ito namang sinulat ni Sanchez is napublish no July 4, 1889 sa La Patria or yung Madrid newspaper. So, sabi ni Rizal, nagsulat din si Rizal about sa West monopolization of civilization. Sabi ni Rizal, yung reason for colonizing countries like Philippines was to civilize them, and yet all they do is use religion to manipulate and enable abuses. So, di ba, yung mga yung Katoliko is naganap nung panahon ng Espanyol sa Pilipinas. Sila yung nagdala ng relihiyon na yun dito sa Pilipinas. Pero ginamit nila yun as a way para mang-abuse ng mga tao. So next is yung Sobre la Nueva Ortografía de la Lengua Tagala or the new orthography of the Tagalog language. Rizal esteemed his native language and thus wanted to advocate for its use among Filipinos. So etong Sobre la Nueva Ortografía de la Lengua Tagala ay naglalaman ng mga panukala or pagbabago sa baybayin or ortografiya ng wikang Tagalog. So pinaliwanag ni Rizal yung kanyang mga pananaw at mga dahilan sa likod ng pagbabagong ito. Binigyang diin niya or sinabi niya yung mga kahalagahan ng pagpapadali at pagbabasa at pagsusulat ng wikang Tagalog para daw mas madaling maunawaan at magamit ng mga Pilipino. So ito makikita niyo yung sa example is yung salakot. Naging salakot which is yung C na palitan ng K while naman sa araw napalitan ng W yung O. So parang kay Rizal mas mapapadali and mas maintindihan ng mga Pilipino kung mababago ito. So, ginamit ni Rizal yung El Sanscrito en la lengua Tagala or Sanskrit in the Tagalog language ni Trinidad Pardo de Tavera bilang reference. So next is yung sobre la indolencia de los Filipinos or the indolence of the Filipinos. So this essay argued that the indolence is not to blame for the current state of the Philippines. So yung indolensya is katamaran. So tinatawag ng mga Espanyol na tamad yung mga Pilipino. Pero yung mga Chinese traders before, pinuri nila yung mga Pilipino bilang active and honest. So sabi ni Rizal, may mga dahilan daw kung bakit naging tamad ang mga Pilipino. Hindi daw ito hereditary or likas sa mga Pilipino, kundi bunga to ng iba't ibang mga salik o dahilan tulad ng pananakop ng mga dayuhan, korupsyon sa pamahalaan, at kawalan ng oportunidad sa edukasyon at pag-unlad. So itong Sobre la Indolencia de los Filipinos, ito yung isa sa most outstanding essay ni Rizal sa SOLI. So next is Rizal publishes annotated sucesos or Successos de las Islas Filipinas, which carried a prologue written by Blumentritt. So yung Successos de las Islas Filipinas, ito yung sa English ito ay Events in the Philippine Islands. Sinulat to ni Antonio de Morga na na-publish noong 1609. Naglalaman tong aklat na to or itong libro na to ng pagdating ng mga Espanyol mula sa unang siglo hanggang sa mga unang dekada ng kolonisasyon. And naglalarawan ito sa mga pangyayari sa panahon ng pag-aalsa ng mga Pilipino laban sa mga Kastila. And itong aklat na to, na parang nakalagay dito yung kultura, pamumuhay at kaugalian ng mga Pilipino noong panahon ng Espanyol, pati na rin yung sistema ng pamahalaan, ekonomiya at relihiyon. Then, Rizal moved to Brussels, Belgium in January 1890. So, Belgium, parang mas nakapag-focus siya sa pagsusulat. And dito na rin matatapos yung LCD. And Rizal is seemingly more fond of his second novel, which is yung El Filibusterismo. And nagsulat din siya kay Basa. Sabi niya, I am writing it with more ardor than Denoli, and although it is not so cheerful, at least it is more profound and more perfect. So, yung pag-publish din ng El Fili, hindi naging madali para kay Rizal. So, si Rizal, lumipat siya sa Gent, where the cost of living and as well as yung printing was cheaper. Pero, hindi pa rin kinaya ng Fandi Rizal yung pag-publish ng El Fili. So, naka-receive siya ng tulong or ng money galing kay Basa. Pero hindi pa rin naging enough yun para mag-publish ng El Fili until umabot sa pagbebenta niya ng mga gamit niya, pero hindi pa rin naging enough and na-put on hold yung pag-publish ng El Fili. Si Valentin Ventura, isa siyang reformist sa Paris. So, parang narinig niya yung about sa El Filibusterismo. So, nagpadala siya ng tulong kay Rizal para ma-publish yung El Fili. And dahil na-appreciate ni Rizal yun, or naging grateful siya, binigyan niya ng original manuscript and as well as a signed copy si Valentin Ventura ng El Filibusterismo. So next is Reunion in Hong Kong. Rizal moved back in Hong Kong in November 1891. So wala pang isang buwan before makabalik ni Rizal sa Hong Kong, naka-receive siya ng letter mula kay Manuel Hidalgo na i-deport nga yung buong pamilya ni Rizal dahil sa agrarian dispute sa Calamba. Pero mas ikinatuwa pa to ni Rizal kasi makakasama niya nga yung buong pamilya niya sa Hong Kong. So, ang unang dumating sa Hong Kong is yung tatay niya and kapatid niya si Pasiano and yung brother-in-law niya na si Ubaldo. And sinabi niya, nagsulat siya sa nanay niya na parang mas naging okay yung pamumuhay ng tatay niya doon and mas naging healthy siya and nakakapaglakad-lakad sila doon, parang nakakagala ganon. And desire nga niya na makasama rin yung nanay niya doon and iba pa nilang kapatid. And in December 30, 1891, sumunod na nga yung nanay niya and yung mga kapatid niyang babae sa Hong Kong. And doon sa Hong Kong, mas nagkaroon sila ng freedom dahil nga malayo sila sa mata ng gobyerno sa Pilipinas. And he wrote to Blumentritt, sabi niya, here we are all living together, my parents, my sisters, and brother, in peace and far from the persecutions they suffered in the Philippines.
Now let's talk about the Borneo project. This began when Rizal met William Pryor during one of his travels. See William Pryor, he is the manager of the British North Borneo Company. He was also the first British resident in Sandakan of North Borneo. Na-inspire si Rizal kay William Pryor kasi si William Pryor naka-acquire siya ng lease for a whole island sa North Borneo. And yung North Borneo nga pala, it's located in the northern part of the modern Sabah in Malaysia. Na-inspire siya dito, si Rizal. Tapos nag-inquire siya ng possibility of setting up a Filipino colony in North Borneo. Nag-draft si Rizal ng agreement na masaya namang pinirmahan ni Pryor. Ang plano talaga dito ni Rizal is i-move niya yung mga landless Filipino families and mula doon magka-carve out sila ng panibagong lugar or colony. Ang plano rin ni Rizal dito is tatawagin niya itong Nueva Calamba, which stands for New Calamba. Now, after what appears to be a smooth plan being laid out, eventually, nakagkaroon din to ng problema. Yung tenants ng Calamba, hindi sila pinayagan umalis ng Spanish government, to be more specific, ni General Eulogio Despujol. Natatakot kasi siya na baka gamitin yung Nueva Calamba as a stronghold to launch a revolution against Spain or Spanish government. Isinulat yung first letter ni Rizal to Governor Despujol noong December 23, 1891. Noong March 21st, 1892, gumawa si Rizal ng pangalawang letter and inabot mismo ito sa ship captain para lang makasiguro na aabot kay Governor Despujol yung letra. Yung sa letter na yon, nagre-request si Rizal na hayaan niya na or i-permit niya na yung mga Pilipinong kinuhanan nga ng lupa na manatili na sila sa North Borneo. Kaso nga lang, si Despujol mismo ayaw niyang i-approve or hindi niya ma-approve yung Filipino immigration sa Borneo. Sinasabi niya na yung Pilipinas daw kulang ng laborers and it was not very patriotic to go off and cultivate foreign soil. Si Despujol nagsuggest siya na bumalik si Rizal sa Pilipinas to appeal sa desisyon na yon. Tapos pag-usapan nila ng harapan. Tapos kahit na binalaan si Rizal na trap lang naman yan, wag kang pumunta ng mga friends and family niya, gusto pa rin tumuloy ni Rizal. Pero Rizal being the smart person that he is, he was prepared. Sumulat siya ng 2 letra na bubuksan kapag namatay na siya. Yung unang letter, it's for the people na malapit sa kanya, and yung second letter, it was addressed to the Filipinos in general. Excerpts from both letters were recorded in the Epistolario Rizalino. Nung matapos ni Rizal na sulatin yung mga letra, nagpadala si Rizal ng isa pang letra kay Despujol para i-announce na pumapayag na siya sa agreement ni Despujol. Tapos si Rizal kasama ng kanyang kapatid si Lucia, umalis sila ng Hong Kong noong 21st June 1892. Which brings us back to the Philippines. The meeting was indeed a trap. Parang panidrik nga lang mga kaibigan niya. Nung pagdating ni Rizal sa Pilipinas, a case was already filed against him. It's anti-religious and anti-patriotic agitation. Although kahit na may kaso naman na nakalatang, hindi na aresto agad si Rizal. Nakakapunta pa nga siya sa Malacanang para makapag-usap kay Despujol, pero during that time, may nagbabantay na sa kanya. On July 6, 1892, naaresto si Rizal during one of his interviews with Despujol. Tapos, may leaflets si Despujol na pinakita na nagko-contain ng mga atake, paninirang puri, panlalait sa mga friars, o mga praile, na sinasabi niya, kay Rizal daw yon. Siyempre, dininay ni Rizal, sinasabi niyang hindi kanya yon, pero in-escort pa rin siya sa Fort Santiago para maaresto. Now, let's move on to the short-lived La Liga Filipina. Take note of the words, the short-lived. Rizal was able to establish a society called the Liga Filipina in between his arrival back to the Philippines and his arrest. Tulad nga ng sinabi ko, pagdating ni Rizal dito sa Pilipinas, hindi agad siya na-aresto. And one of the things he did was to establish or found a society called the Liga Filipina. May sinulat si Rizal, to have liberties without having food to eat is to listen to speeches and to fast. It was established as a society composed of well-to-do members who can give hand to its lesser capable members. The Liga was founded in the house of Doroteo Onghunco, who is a Freemason and is located in Tondo. Yung Liga, ang mga miyembro nito is hindi lang iisang status ang meron mga tao, meron ditong mga may kaya at yung mga hindi masyado nagkakaroon ng pang-tustos sa araw-araw. Kaya ang ginagawa nila dito is yung mga taong kumikita ng mas malaki, nagbibigay tulong sila sa mga miyembro na nangangailangan talaga. Kasi part din yon ng society goal nila. So, sinabi to ni Rizal, yung society goal nila, habang may 30 people in attendance, work towards the unity of the Philippines, advocate for reforms, provide support in education, agriculture, and commerce, fight against violence and unjust persecution, provide help and protection for its members. Ito yung mga miyembro ng Liga. Tulad na sabi ko kanina, marami-rami din sila, pero ito na lang yung isinulat ko. Si Ambrosio Salvador, siya yung presidente. Although, siguro in-expect nung iba na si Rizal ang magiging president. I mean, he was the founder, pero nanatili na lang siya simply as a founder. Ang secretary is si Bonifacio Arevalo, si Deodato Arellano ang fiscal officer, and yung dalawang miyembro na walang official position tulad ng pagiging president, secretary, officer is si Andres Bonifacio and Apolinario Mabini. Yung mga miyembro na andito sa liga, kailangan nila magbayad ng 10 centavo monthly that was used to solve the members' financial needs. So, yung tulong na kukuha ng mga miyembro dito na nangangailangan nga ng financial support is hindi lang nanggagaling sa mga well-to-do members, nanggagaling din mismo sa parang fee na kinukuha sa iba pang miyembro. Now, why is it called the short-lived La Liga Filipina? It's pretty simple. The Liga didn't last long because Rizal got arrested the same month the Liga was founded. That's all. Thank you. Ta-ding!